Oh boy. Disgraced podcaster Jeff Durbin called out for sinful activity. Apparently, there's a dust up on the internet, mostly on Twitter. It's become real public and real strange. And Durbin is part of it. And in the midst of people discussing the ins and outs and why somebody did something wrong or somebody's in sin, Durbin has to weigh in on it, and James White has to weigh in on it. And I came across a video from my friend David Morrill. I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to pause it for commentary because it's been quite a while since my interaction with Jeff Durbin, but he remains clearly disgraced. He is 100% disqualified for public ministry. His sins are public, are many, and let's talk about it. And let's let David talk about it. Now, David's going to be. I'm reviewing a video that David made as he reviewed Dr. James White, who is part of the drama between Durbin and BTWN. And yeah, he's part of it. He's been part of it. But let's play it. It gets really good 2 minutes in when they start talking about the drama of the current and how it applies to drama from the past. It shows, as you'll see, Durbin is a hypocrite. So let's go.
An article that he wrote. He's been talking about the Antioch Declaration, and he's taking sides on that. And there was
and for the record, real quick, for the record, I wouldn't say that I took sides on the Antioch Declaration, but I had my concerns with it. Still do. Probably most obvious in my concerns was, did it really need to be dropped right in the middle of the Joel Webben and Tobias Riemenschneider issue? That seems like it could have waited until Tobias at least had weighed in. It makes it look like a cynical political move. I'll be honest with you. That's what it looks like. And then you get into the declaration itself, and it's just not well written. It's not well organized. There's so many extemporaneous things in there that don't need to be in there. Make it confusing for everybody. Make it look like sorry, I'll get that still shot off there. That was not intentional. It just makes it look bad. It makes it look like, like I didn't know at the time that it came out, because it was said, well, Tobias is going to say something. Tobias is going to say something. Okay, fine. Tobias is going to say something. And then this declaration is published. And like, is that what Tobias was wanting to say? His name's on it. Was this his response? Nobody knew. He came out with another response. And he was decrying. I mean, right, Dr. White, that he was decrying the.
So David's referring to the drama that's happened in the last few months, which is thick. And if you didn't pay attention fully, like I didn't, because I wasn't even active on the internet during this drama. If you weren't really plugged in, you can't really follow it. I don't pretend to understand it, but I understand what David's about to say about Durbin and White.
The idea that the Zoom conversation was recorded without his knowledge, but if memory serves, Apologia doesn't oppose that, right? I mean, you guys are okay with secretly recording phone calls, communications, and things. Not only are you okay with recording it, you're okay with publishing it publicly, anonymously. By the way, while we're on the subject of at least surface level hypocrisy, the decrying of anonymous online activity seems a little hypocritical, to be honest.
He's hitting a home run. If Durbin and White are decrying of anonymous online accounts, they are the definition of hypocritical, because Durbin, as Dave will explain real soon, Durbin recorded a private conversation with me, and years later posted it on the internet to discredit me when I was critiquing his ministry. Back in 2015, I had an interaction with Durbin, called him, had a private conversation, which I apologized to him. And then 2 years later, after I critiqued a podcast that he had, did it gracefully. Then Durbin released a privately recorded confession on an anonymous YouTube channel. All of this Durbin has 100% admitted to. Even today, that YouTube channel stands with that private conversation, public for all.
Honest with you. You got Jeff out there putting long tweet threads against an anonymous people, like how, you're just on the internet. That's all you do. Totally judging people he doesn't know, can't name, won't name, I guess. I mean, there are named people out there that also disagree, and agree with some of the positions the anonymous people are taking, right? But you got Jeff out there decrying the anonymous people doing what they're doing. And yet this is the same pastor who just a few short years ago, started a YouTube channel anonymously to release the contents of a secretly recorded phone conversation. And then later, when it was identified that it was him that did this, spent 3 hours on his podcast defending this behavior. And as far as I know, you defended it too. Please correct me if I'm wrong about this. How is that okay?
The 3-hour video, James White is part of. He was in the video. Now let me share with you something really insightful, something really important. I made this video, and it's titled "Disgraced Podcaster Jeff Durbin Called Out for His Sin." That's what we're doing here. That's what David's doing. And when Durbin made his 3-hour video response to me, calling me out, it is cult-like. It is amazing how Durbin is so cult-like. He's cult leader-like. When you want to convince somebody of something, what do? You say it over and over and over again. And that's what he did. He said the same thing over and over again. It was amazing. 3-hour video addressing me and how I hurt him. But in the midst of this 3-hour video, Durbin played a recording of me on a podcast, and he edited it. He stopped it before I clarified myself. I was talking like I am now, right off the cuff, and I said something, and then I thought about it, and then I said, "Well, no, that's not actually true. This is actually true." Well, Durbin cut the video off, and the first time he played the video, he played a little bit too long, and James White said, I think I started to say something like, "But," and then Durbin played the clip, and White says, "But, like, why did Tim say that?" And Durbin didn't say anything. Durbin looked at him, and then when they went to a commercial and came back, they played the clip again, and they didn't play me saying "but." They cut it off so that it appeared that I didn't continue my sentence. But I don't think James White was in on the lying clip. I mean, Durbin's completely disqualified for what he did in falsifying my statements, clearly lying, presenting me saying one thing when I actually said another. And he's not qualified to be a pastor for many reasons. We're going to get back to what Dave has to say, because Dave hits a complete home run. But I say Durbin is disgraced podcaster and should not be a pastor because of his interactions with me, his secretly recording conversations of not only me, but he records the secret conversations and confessions of his own church members. And he admits to doing this. His sinful actions on his podcast is lying about his interactions with me. Firsthand accounts from members from his church would shock you. Like I said, records confessions, and then anonymous accounts online, and on and on and on. The list goes on and on and on. How Durbin is not qualified. But you might say, oh, but Tim. Now, how many times have you said so far, oh, but Tim, the ministry that he has in for abortion doesn't matter at all. God doesn't need Jeff Durbin. He doesn't. God doesn't need me. He doesn't need you. And when we become disqualified, we are disqualified.
How is it okay that Jeff secretly recorded a conversation between himself and Tim Hurd, where Tim apologized not for anything overtly that Tim had done, but Tim actually trying to be open and humble with another brother in Christ and say, look, my heart was not in the right place. I criticized you on my podcast and my motivation was wrong. That's something Jeff didn't know until Tim told him. My motivation about this was wrong. I wanted to confess to you that I had the wrong motivation in my heart. At the time Tim is saying this to Jeff on the phone, Jeff is recording the conversation. Later he claimed, well, I mean, all pastors should record their conversations, just for safety and to make sure that, that they have it on record just in case, I guess, in case they're accused of something later, sounds like. But Jeff is recording this. Then, I mean, a long time later, years later maybe, Tim decides I'm going to say something else critical about Jeff on my podcast. Some positive things as well, if I remember correctly. Some positive things, but also some critical things I'm going to say. And then Jeff releases the recording of Tim confessing not having the right heart condition a long time ago on an unrelated podcast.
A church member from his church shared with me the same exact story. He confessed that he was wrong about something to Jeff Durbin. He confessed that he had sin or something like that. This member of his church did. And then whenever this guy would disagree with Jeff Durbin or call Jeff Durbin to accountability, Durbin would say to this member, oh, well, you've already admitted that you're wrong. You've already admitted. And that's what Durbin did for 3 hours. Tim, you can't critique me on the Tinfoil Hat podcast because you've already admitted that you had wrong motives back 3 years ago. You've already admitted it. Unbelievable.
I mean, so the position must have been that once Tim Hurd confesses that his heart motivation wasn't right, that he can never criticize Jeff again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that and once he did criticize him again, then Jeff felt like it was okay for him to open up an anonymous YouTube account, a new YouTube channel, anonymous. It wasn't like Jeff Durbin's secret recordings on YouTube channel. Some random name, nobody knew who it was, released the content, released the recording that he had secretly recorded. Didn't tell Tim he recorded it. He just secretly recorded it, releases it on the internet, and then make sure it leaks out to other people exactly, supposedly. How is that any different than what Joel Webbin was being accused of?
One more comment on the video, not on the anonymous one of my confession. Durbin had to turn off the comments for that. He was getting plastered. He was getting called out by 90% of the commenters. Were like, this is wrong. Why is this up? Why are you doing this? Why did you do this? He had to eliminate comments as well as comments on his 3-hour video calling me out and trying to justify his actions against me. Comments aren't allowed on there either because he got burned on that as well. It was bad publicity. And he's stubborn. He's prideful. Probably everybody knows that. And he's not changing. It's not changed his heart. His heart is still sinful. Still got the YouTube channel up there, and it hasn't changed over the years.
Now, Joel says he didn't record the Zoom call with Tobias. I don't know. No idea. But let's say he did. And then he makes sure that it leaks into the hands of people he wants to have that information and put it out there. Is that any different than what Jeff did to Tim Hurd? And yet to this day, there's been no repentance for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no correction. There's just been excuse making. There's been Jeff on a 3-hour podcast explaining why somehow this was okay to do. Now, I can buy if he's consistent. He says, okay, this is okay to do. But it seems like one of the pastors involved in writing the Antioch Declaration, collaborators, I don't know why you called it that, but whatever, collaborators, did this, is complaining about the exact same thing that you apparently don't find any problem with.
That is David Morrill of Protestia. Protestia tonight. He does a video. He writes articles, news articles, blogs, commentaries. Good stuff. Thank you, David Morrill, for your comments about that. Disgraced podcaster Jeff Durbin called out for sinful activity, continued sinful activity. You know what? You know what's funny? Is Durbin got on Twitter, and it's amazing. Boy, years and years ago, there wasn't many people who knew about his tendencies, his sinful tendencies, and his inconsistencies, and all this stuff that he does with recording people. And now there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people on the internet who are calling him out, and I'm thankful for that. It is no longer J.D. Hall, Len Pettis, and Tim Hurd, and our friends over there from Pulpit and Pen, Seth and David and other guys. No longer just the few of us. Word is getting out, Word is getting out. Hey, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Share it. Oh, yeah. Share this video. See ya.